show. How's that?
Hey, out there in Radio Land, this is Michael Berryman, and I'm letting you know that you are listening to the Balls from Ellwood show.
The Hills Have Eyes, the most shocking, terrifying film you will ever see, by Wes Craven, writer and director of The Last House on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. The lucky ones died first.
Hey now, cats, we're back again this week, and you're listening to the Balls from Ellwood show. With me, I have a very, very special guest, somebody that I consider to be very iconic, and I've loved my whole life growing up. With me today, I have Michael Berryman. He is, you will know him from The Hills Have Eyes and several other things. Would you like to say hi to the audience, Michael?
Maybe tomorrow. Just kidding. Of course, everybody out there in listening land, hope you're having a great day, and hope tomorrow's better.
Well, let me ask you, sir. I know you. A lot of people that's listening to this are horror fans like myself, and they probably know a little bit about you. But for people that aren't, I'd like to actually ask you: can you tell us a little bit about your formative years? Like, what was it like for you growing up?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I'm actually writing my autobiography, and I started from my earliest memory, probably the age of 5. Real quick, I was born in 1948. My father was a Marine and Navy surgeon, and he wound up going to Hiroshima after they dropped the bomb. Came home. Of course, he was radiated, and I was born premature with a lot of birth defects. Had a craniectomy at age 5. A lot of other things to deal with. Grew up in Santa Monica, which is the old dog town. We invented the skateboard, did a lot of surfing. Went to Catholic school, yay. Let's see, went to college, University of California, San Luis Obispo in the mid to late 60s. Growing up was a little different than most people for me because I had a visual difference, had some medical things to deal with. Growing up in the 50s, into the early 60s, there was not a lot of the programs or wisdom for youth. Parents were glad to survive a world war, and they were worried about the Cold War, and people had good jobs, and so I'll just say this: so there wasn't a lot of mentoring or counseling. So for me, as a kid, as an example, I had a buddy that had polio, and he had metal devices on his legs so he could walk, and they were braces. And he kind of walked a little, kind of like a robot, but that's the best he could do. And I had my share of teasing and stuff like that. But when I saw other people, getting mistreated, I would like torch. I would be in their face and tell them exactly what they needed to know, in my non-humble opinion. I had a lot of medical issues to deal with. I lost a lot of jobs. I was everything from a taxi driver to bail bonds, back up to everything in a restaurant you can imagine, all kinds of stuff.
What was the worst job you think you probably had growing up? Like, I could think of some pretty bad ones I had, but I mean, there's always that one that stands out in your mind. It's the worst. Like, if you had to pick one, like just the one that ultimately stands out, like what was the absolute worst job you had to do when you was like younger?
Well, I did it willingly because it put food on the table for my family, and we were living in Arkansas, and there was an exotic bird ranch that was building a new facility. And the old facility was kind of run down. It was like a big chicken coop with cement floors. and the cages were about, these are real expensive birds, and the cages were, I would say, maybe 3.5 feet off the floor, so you couldn't really, I had to basically hunch over and kind of duck walk underneath these cages and take like a hoe that was wide, and I would scrape bird shit on the cement floor forward and then dispose of it. That was a real interesting job.
Yeah, man.
But, I did that for about a month and a half, and then one of the funniest jobs I ever had was selling Time Life magazine on the phone, doing cold calls with a hit list of people that had their subscriptions getting ready to end, and we would offer them a really good deal to resubscribe or continue their subscription. And if they hemmed and hawed and said no, then we would keep lowering the price. Well, these were cold calls. We were calling people, right around dinner time. So it was hard to make any money. I did the job for about 3 or 4 weeks. Well, one night I received a phone call from a phone solicitor. So I signaled to my boss, and he plugged it. All of us, we're all listening in on the conversation. And, the guy did his spiel, and after about a minute or two, he hears all these people laughing. And then my boss says, and he was quite the salesman, he could sell anything, and he says, it's really, you don't even know who you called, did you? And they go, no. And he says, well, we're phone solicitors. That was kind of a funny thing.
That's crazy.
And I'll give you a third. I'll give you a third one.
I'm totally into these. I love them. Yeah, keep them coming.
Okay. Imagine Los Angeles near the San Diego freeway in Wilshire. I worked for about 4 days because I couldn't take it anymore. This guy had a van with boxes of. This was around 1974, and he had boxes of frozen, high-quality grass-fed organic steaks way back in 1974, and they were wrapped in plastic and frozen solid in New York steaks, and top sirloin steaks and filet mignons in these little white boxes. And he didn't have a freezer in his van. He would just leave them in an ice chest. And a bunch of ice chests, and then we would take a couple boxes, and he would leave the engine running with the AC on, and then we would walk into a high-rise business, like a big 30, 40-story business building, and we go all the way up to the executive floors where people were wealthy, and I was his lackey. I would hold the boxes, and he would walk in. And the guy was unabashed. He didn't care. He'd walk in, and the secretary would go, "Oh, excuse me, what are you doing here?" He says, and I swear to God, he would have me present the open box so you could see the steaks, and here's what he would say: "We'll sell."
Are you serious?
I swear to God. And the looks on people's faces were amazing. And then he would go into how, they were healthy, they were quality, but the way to market it was not the best choice. And I lasted about 3 days. I just had to leave.
Did he actually sell any steaks with that?
Actually, on occasion, and then we would hand him a little catalog. But I would say 8 times out of 10, it was a laughing. It was like ridiculous.
Maybe the other two bought him just to get him out of there.
Oh, I know. It was just ridiculous.
I mean, you were saying earlier, I know everyone knows you were born with several birth defects, but what I always wanted to ask you is how did you persevere and not let people get you down, and how did not let people hold you back? Like, how did you soldier on with it?
Well, that's a really good question. Most of the time, there was a lot of depression, and this was from 5 years old, and I still have friends that I've known for over 60 years But you do make some good friends. But the majority of the kids, especially if you have a visual difference, it really shows. It's like, you had a chicken with a speck on it. It was very challenging. When I went to high school, I remember after a couple of weeks as a freshman, I got a phone call one night, and my mom said, "Hey, your friends are on the phone." I hadn't made any friends yet. And it was the captain of the football team with his buddies in the background laughing, and it went like this. It was, "Hey, freak, we saw you in class. We don't like freaks like you in our school. We're going to fuck you up. So you better not come back to school." Well, that was a little traumatic, but, I had to go back to school, and, I did make friends, and I was on the track team and cross country and stuff like that. But there was this one guy in the hall I used to walk by. It was the guy. He would growl and make weird noises. And one day, he did the old proverbial knock the books out from under your arm routine, and I'd had enough. And so what I knew I did have back in the day was very rapid brain synapses. My father actually did testing for the EEG and the EKG way back in the early days of Texas Instruments. He had an oscilloscope. And, so what it means is that I had a very fiery temper. And, back in those days, you obey. But if if I get in a fight or something or tell somebody off, it's like, well, don't do that. But there was no guidance on how to balance between, civility between people that just are ignorant, tools. So it was very challenging. I was about to homestead in Alaska around 1972. I had a four-wheel drive Dodge Power Wagon, the old school ones. I was saving money. Had a little shop in Venice Beach. We sold odds and ends, and that's how I met George Powell and got sidetracked into acting. But I got involved with various groups. Specifically, in my acting, I met Paul Newman when I was doing The Crow, and he got me involved with the Bogey Creek and the Hole in the Wall gang and the Florida Facial Cranial Society invited me to their camp in St. Petersburg, Florida, for a couple of years, and we had the best surgeons, facial cranial reconstructive surgeons, and families with kids, and everything was covered. They would have people house sit for them, take care of their animals if necessary, and invite the whole family to about a 4-day event where they met the best doctors, and everything was handled for free, taken care of by Paul Newman's organization.
That's incredible.
So, and then when I was in college and thereafter, actually, for a long time, I got involved with a lot of organizations, the Red Cross. I was even on my mayor's, the governor of California. All the governors of the U.S. were having people getting input from the local zip codes and townships to see what are the needs for people with disabilities, and that was the part of the blueprint for how to create the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I could put in input about what it was like with my situation. We had people with other gimpiness, that honestly said, from mental issues, psych issues, to physical issues, and everything in between. So that involvement helped take away some of the angst, but there's still the biggest issue, which was how to make a living. Because when I worked in kitchens and restaurants and stuff, which I did very well at, I started to get heat stroke. I can't dissipate heat in any way, shape, or form. So almost everything that I did, even driving taxi, or I was even a logger in the mountains for quite a number of years, would remove dangerous trees on private property. Without insurance, I just get you to sign me a waiver, but I was an expert. I knew what I was doing, and I spent a lot of time cutting firewood. I'm an expert with a chainsaw. But even that, in time, I But during the summer months, I basically can't go outside and do much. I go out, take care of a few things, and then pretty much keep the AC on. So I was very lucky to get involved in the acting, thanks to George Powell, so I could have a life, a career, a pension, health insurance, that kind of stuff.
What age did you start acting, Michael?
Well, I would say just about the time I was getting ready to homestead and leave for Alaska. I had a little gift shop. We had a little bit of everything. Local artists in Venice Beach. We were right down Main Street. A bunch of old hippies, and if you made paintings or moccasins or wove something, we would put it on our wall, and we'd take a commission if we sold it. So that only lasted about 6 months. But during that time, that's around 1974. My neighbor owned a very high-end antique store. It's called the Gallimaufry. And the wife of the husband and wife that owned it, the wife was, the Fentons, Mike Fenton and Gene Feinberg. Actually, Mike Fenton and Gene Feinberg were casting agents. They were related to George Powell. Mm-hmm. And so one night we were at an event. There was all kinds of Bentleys and Rolls Royces and people, looking at these real fancy schmancy, and pieces of antiquity. And so we put a lot of our plants and various stuff. We had some plants and palm trees and stuff like that, indoor palms. And so we kind of dressed up their store just to make it look more homey. Well, while we were mingling, I was introduced to George Powell, and I was wearing actually a black cape with a hood. Hood was down, but it's black with white trim. It was from one of our little stores next door. It was from Morocco. It was kind of cool. It was very cool. Well, it looked elegant, and he walked up to me, and he basically said, "Excuse me, are you an actor?" And I go, "No, man, I'm not an actor. I have a degree in art history, but I don't have a teaching credential, but I studied art. And I have friends that work for Disney, and they're actors, but I'm not an actor, man. I'm going to go homestead in Alaska and live in nature. And why do you ask?" And he goes, "I swear to God," he goes, "you have an interesting face. I think I would like to cast you in my movie, Doc Savage." And I go, "Well, I read those books. Those are kind of cool." You know, well, I said, "Well, why do you want me?" And he says, "Because you're the perfect fit." I go, "Well, I don't know." And he handed me a card that said Warner Brothers, and it said George Powell. And I go, and then a little light bulb went off in my head, and I said to him, "Do you know who you are?" I said, "You created the Puppetoon, so you did some of the first animation in film history. You did the movie The War of the Worlds and Journey to the Center of the Earth." And he put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "Yes, please be in the movie." And I said, how do we make this happen?" He said, "Well, call my office." And I said, "Thank you, I'll do that." So I called his office, I met, and gave me a contract for $400 with a 2-day guarantee, which gets you past the Taft-Hartley Act. And he paid my startup dues, which was a couple $100, to get into the Screen Actors Guild. So then he had one request. He said, "If anybody asks you how you got started, you tell them that George Powell discovered you, just like old school Hollywood, like at the soda fountain or whatever." So I said, "You got a deal." And so I worked with Ron Ely at the Harold Lloyd Estate, which was very cool. And I play the coroner, Juan Jose Morales. I am the coroner of Chicago. and I bring some a slide with something I find in the blood of Doc Savage's father, who passed away, and I did the report on him. And so the story continues. Well, the casting agents for that movie, I was cast by George, the producer. The casting agents saw me, and they called me. I didn't even have an agent. And they called my apartment, and they said, "Could you come down to Culver Studios and meet Saul Zaentz, Jack Nicholson, Milos Forman, and Michael and Joel Douglas. And I go, sure. So I went down and had a meeting, and if I hadn't known George and Mike Fenton's people, they hadn't been casting for.
And that's how One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Is that how that came?
That's right.
Oh my God, that's awesome! I love you in that. It's just amazing.
Yes,
it's amazing to hear these stories. I mean, it just goes to show you're in one place at the right time, and then like this, and then it just ends up becoming a thing. Well, let me ask you this, Michael. Like from that first casting, is that when did you decide that you wanted to be an actor as a career for the rest of your life? Was there one defining moment? Was that it, or I mean, did you get the bug from that first performance, or I mean?
Well, actually, I never had the bug. I really didn't want more exposure. I didn't want more attention to myself. I was confident in what I did know about. I loved living in the forest. I'm an expert logger. I really enjoy. I built a couple. Well, as a matter of fact, helped a friend build a 2-story log cabin, a log home actually, in Washington State, right near the ocean on Camino Island. He's a grammar school friend that I'd known since 2nd grade, and his house had burnt down, and he purchased all the materials to rebuild, but he couldn't hire carpenters to build it. He had the foundation, rough plumbing in, and he was living in his neighbor's house. We were on vacation, and they were going to return before the rains came, and we had to have the house done. So Mark called me up and said, "Can you come up and help?" And I think that was back when I was selling frozen steaks, and I said, "Sure, man. I'll come up and help you." And I actually, at the time, I don't think I had transpo. If I did, I might have left it at my parents' house. And I hitchhiked up to Berkeley, grabbed another friend, and we drove up there and built Mark's house. And it was wonderful. We were strong in our 20s, young. You're looking out at forest and ocean. It was just heaven and wonderful and beautiful. And we built this incredibly gorgeous 2-story log home. I mean, then when we finished, I was going to stay in Washington and see if I could get some work, and maybe still make a trip to Alaska because you could still homestead. Well, one day I was going to, I was looking at a truck to purchase actually, and it hadn't run in a while, so the old man said, "Well, I need to pour some gas in the carburetor to fill the float pool." And I go, "Okay." Now this is one of these older trucks where the starter is you push a lever on the floorboard and it makes a direct connection right to the solenoid, so it's a big spark. And I told him, I said, "Whatever you do, don't crank it over while I'm pouring the gas in." Of course he did, and it backfired. Caught the little juice can, about a cup of gasoline in a little juice can, and it went pop, and you can't see the flames much. Long story short, it splattered on my shirt, so now my shirt's on fire with gasoline. And I could hear the flames rippling like a flag flapping in the breeze. And I made a point not to breathe, and I did the fireman's roll on the ground and took my shirt off, and had some second-degree burns all the way up my neck and my chest and my tips of my ears, and I don't grow hair. I don't grow a beard very well, but I did have a 4-month scraggly Fu Manchu, which shriveled up and stunk like hell. It was gone in like 2 seconds flat. And so at the end of that day, I went to the doctor. I got some bandages, and I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I should go back to Santa Monica and regroup. So about 2 days later, Mark drives me to the airport, and I take off. Well, before I had left to go to Mark's house, I had filed for Social Security disability, because of all the times I had to quit work, and I'd forgotten all about it. Well, when Mark came back from taking me to the airport, he checked. Guess what showed up at his post office box? My disability letter and a check for like 3 months worth of Social Security.
Oh wow!
So if I had not caught fire and left, that money would have given me some security to stay, and I never would have met George Powell. I never would have been an actor.
So it was meant to be, more or less.
Yeah, life works in mysterious ways.
Absolutely. I'm fascinated with the with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Did you get to interact with a lot of the other cast? Who do you think was probably the coolest to you on the set? Do you remember?
Absolutely. I've been writing my autobiography. I think I wrote 35 pages about that. I spent 127 days, 6 days a week, at Oregon State Hospital in Salem, Oregon. And I know every single person that was on that film, know them all inside and out. We became very close. It was like a big extended family. I was on the set every single day, even on my days off, so I could learn about camera, lens, focus, pulling, framing, how to match a scene to another cut, every single thing you can imagine. And that's when I learned my craft. And Milos Forman helped me tremendously. And watching Genius of Nicholson, I think the most powerful scene I like the best is when Billy's having his date and Jack and the Jeep are sitting by the window because they're going to escape and they're kind of drunk and tired. And while they're waiting for Billy to get laid, there's a train whistles in the distance. Well, every night at midnight we could hear a train. And Milos kept the camera rolling. And Jack plays off of it perfectly. And next time you see Cuckoo's Nest, remember that toward the end. And he looks real tired, and then he hears the train. He doesn't stop to see it. Continues, and he does just a little movement with his eye, and a little whimper, smile, and a shrug, and a sigh. And it's so underplayed, but it's so powerful. That is from really knowing your ability to project, and small can be huge. And anyone that is thinking of being a director, actor, or just someone who appreciates art, it's the little things. It's the space in between the dialogue and the action that really will show you whether or not someone is a competent artist or not. So, yeah, it was a tremendous experience.
So tell me more about this book you're working on. I mean, when's it going to be coming out so everybody can check it out?
Is it good?
No. I said when's it coming out so everybody?
I'm just messing with you. I don't know yet. I'm at page 107. It's got a picture of me on the cover. I haven't published it yet or printed it. I have to take it, send it to the copyright office, and get it protected. But it's just my life story.
Well, I know a lot of people would be certainly interested in reading that for sure, especially myself.
It's a pretty good read. It's a pretty good read.
Awesome, yeah. Man. I'll be looking forward to that.
It's got a picture on the front with me with curly hair. I'm about 5 years old. Little kid smiling with a bow tie and this innocent look on his face, and it just says, "It's all good."
That's awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of when you were younger, though, I mean, did your parents, how did they feel about your acting career? Did they encourage it?
No, not really. When I left college without a degree or a job offer, I'd run out of money. I started out as a veterinary science major, didn't do well. I took botany and zoology with 2 4-unit classes with labs. I learned a lot, but, I think I got a D in those classes. Bottom line is, I did learn a lot. I studied a lot of art history, studied economics, and a lot of different things. But I just didn't have, I'm still dealing with a lot of, what's my life about? Who am I? How do I fit into society kind of stuff. So when I left in 1972, I had to come back and regroup. And I did not have a job offer or a certificate. I got almost 200 units at college, but wise and learned. But I didn't want to work in an office. And I really had no idea. So when I came home, the quote from my brothers had heard my mother say, "He's coming home, Sloan. What are we going to do?" So when I came home, I grew up in a 2-story, 5-bedroom. 2-story Spanish house in Santa Monica on 21st Street in Georgina. And when I came home, I was told I had to sleep in the backyard in the old Sears umbrella tent because my old bedroom was being occupied, and so I didn't even have a key to the house for a while. I lived in the street. I fixed up my van real nice. I would crash at friends' apartments. I would park in front of a big landscaping truck near a golf course. I would get hassled by the police, and then I wouldn't get rear-ended because it was a big truck, with a shredder and all that in the back. And so when they would fire up the engine in the morning, I knew that was my wake-up call. Then I'd go to a 24-hour gym, shower and shave, whatever, and go surfing for a while, and go to the unemployment office, try to find jobs, and on and on and on until I wound up going in with a friend on a little gift shop in Venice. And my mom, she never thought too much of it. My dad was kind of, we had friends that worked for Disney TV, but, they didn't think anything was going to happen with it. Even after Doc Savage, I didn't even have an agent, but when I got the call to do Cuckoo's Nest, I got a good agent. And after the movie was out in the theaters, I actually took my mom wasn't in the nursing home. I took my dad, and he was, had some close-ups, and when he saw that, he kind of tapped my shoulder, and he goes, "Hey, man, that's you." I said, "Yeah, Dad, and, I just might be able to make a living doing this, so we'll find out." So that was the limit to the enthusiasm.
So it seems like he was maybe more receptive to it than your mom at the time.
Well, I was hoping it would continue. We did Hills Have Eyes next, but I had no clue if it would continue. You're competing with people that, look normal, so to speak. Or they classify actors as leading men, leading women, character actors, comedians, good guy, rough guy, bad guy, happy, So where do you fit in? Well, you fit in according to how well you can bring the character to life. So that's what and then I watched a lot of super talented people on the set, and then I also got to know everybody on a call sheet. What's your job? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you putting tape on the floor? What's this? What's that? And so I tell actors all the time, I said, learn your craft. It's not theater. Movie and television, film and television are different. And you don't have a lot of rehearsal time. You don't strut and make it bigger than life. It looks stupid when you're in a close-up and your head's 5 feet wide on the screen. I mean, it's a total different technical field, and so I just learned on the job and studied real hard, and one job led to another. It took a long time, but glad I stuck with it.
Well, tell me a little bit about the Hills Have Eyes. I mean, were you a fan of the horror genre growing up as a kid, or no?
I was a huge fan of real horror. I think good writing is, everything from the Universal monsters, Karloff, Dracula, Wolfman was my favorite, all of that stuff. I met Sarah Karloff at a convention. We had many talks about her dad, and Lugosi would come over to the house, etc. I love the classics. I like a good horror movie. Number one, you have to have a good story. Number two, you have to have character development. Number three, you have to have a good challenge to the people that have to rise to the occasion to be the heroes. Number four, stop making it spider blood, flesh exploding torture porn. I'm sorry, but there hasn't been a good horror movie since, in my opinion, Silence of the Lambs, or the first Nightmare on Elm Street. I'll give that a thumbs up. The rest, it becomes just, they're making more money. I'm glad people are working, but Saw, garbage. The Hills remake, weak.
Yeah, I know. I remember talking to you at a convention about that, and my buddies and I asked you what your thoughts were, because we were actually surprised that you weren't making an appearance in that, and then we got to talk about that, and it was, you gave it the thumbs down. So I was like, Yeah. I mean, I have to agree with you in a sense because I mean, I've been a horror fan since I was a kid. But I mean, I'm in a minority because like I feel a lot like you feel. I would take atmosphere and the building suspense and terror over blood and gore any day of the week. And it seems like unfortunately the horror audience doesn't feel that way. Like I must feel like I'm in the minority because like I liked things growing up like Legend of Hell House and things like Hammer movies, things like that of that nature.
Love the Hammer movies.
And
Love the Hammer.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'll take suspense and character development and atmosphere over blood any day of the week. So I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I do feel like it has kind of gotten into that torture porn kind of subgenre, which I think it kind of gives horror a bad name. In all honesty, like I mean, I really wish it would go back to the days. Where it was less that way.
Well, it's funny that you say that because it actually is coming back in that direction. Most of those films you will find them at film festivals, the indie circuit. Now, my dear friend who passed away, Andrew Getty, who did the film The Evil Within.
I saw that. I thought it was an excellent film. I thought you were excellent in it. I thought it was great all around. Visually, it's amazing. I think I can't say enough good stuff about it. It's a very great flick. Anybody that's listening to this show right now, if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, The Evil Within is based on a nightmare that Andrew had. And Andrew graduated from the USC School of Film. He was a genius. He had his own personal demons to deal with. It's the only film he made. He was in post-production for 10 years, and his associates are still, they do have a company in the film. You can get it all day long for $11 and change on Amazon. It's really a very interesting film. All of the effects are practical. When I take the zipper and attach it to Fred and roll him over and unzip his body, and then I crawl inside of him, that's actually a body bag double. It's exactly like him.
Oh wow!
The mirror maze effect when I'm killing the multiple reflections. We had a camera guy is going, I don't know how to film this, and Andrew was a genius. He had all the diagrams and how to set up the lights and put mirrors on rollers to hide the camera, and there's some really cool stuff in that film. It has some fractured elements, but overall, it's a very interesting film, and it's also the last role for our friend Matthew McQuarrie. The scene with Matthew McQuarrie, who played Tiny in Rejects, and in Big Fish, and also in Big Fish. Andrew let him write his own dialogue at the restaurant scene, and the dialogue that Matthew says to Sean Patrick Flannery with regards to how Matthew looks, etc., and how society treats him and scrutinizes him, is all Matthew's words. That never happens. You never have a director say, you write your own dialogue and you help create the importance of your character in this scene. And that just shows the compassion and humanity that my friend Andrew Getty did have. Even though he had his own issues personally, he did have a very compassionate heart. And the film is basically from a nightmare that he had, and it's beautiful to watch. And it's not a splatter kind of movie at all. I kind of wish people could come up with something other than clowns for scary movies, but again, like I say, things go in cycles. And in the independent film festival circuit, there are a lot of upcoming filmmakers that really have something different to say, and their style and the protagonist is completely unique. My doctor friend, Jesse Burke, an orthopedic surgeon out of Arkansas, he loves to make short subject films. And some of the titles that, matter of fact, in 2 weeks I'm going to the Arkansas Film Festival to receive an award on behalf of the Evil Within, and also spend some time with Dr. Burke. But he did some shorts that have won awards, and a creepy ice cream man comes to suburbia, costing an ice cream is your mother's finger, and I'm the ice cream man. It's called One Please. It's just brilliant the way it's put together. It's really, really brilliant. There's another little black and white one he did called Cured. And they pop up on the internet, but you can see them. So there is hope, but I'm not going to say people can't make bad movies, because that you should always have the freedom to express bad taste. Matter of fact, there's a movie called Bad Taste.
Yeah, I love the old Peter Jackson movie. That's a great one.
Well, one of my a really great bad movie has one of the longest, best fight scenes ever. Is the one with my friend Roddy Piper.
Oh, They Live.
They Live.
That movie was so ahead of its time, man. Like, I mean, I was a fan of it back then, but even now, it's so incredibly smart. I mean, I don't think people got the underlying intelligence of that film.
I know. The acting is very wooden and whatnot performed, but what the concept of what he was trying to say really hit the mark, and it still holds true today. The message, especially to these times that we're having today, it's really, I heard on the news last night that artificial intelligence is getting so smart now that these programs are making decisions about our, if you're looking for a job, or if they're making, what do they call it, when you have a computer program and then interfaces with other computer programs, and then it makes an evaluation of you, the human, as to whether or not maybe you should be able to get this operation or this advancement, or where you fit into society, or what your future may or may not be. They're turning these decisions over to IA. I see a problem here.
Every time I hear that kind of stuff, it scares me, man. All I could think of is Skynet from Terminator.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
it's very creepy in a sense. Example. I mean, I could very easily see like a time where like machine takes over man. I mean, I don't know if I'm being overly paranoid, but I definitely think it's very spooky. I don't know. I'm with you there. It's just very strange.
Well, it's been a theme in science fiction, which I think is some of the most brilliant writing always, and I recommend the H.G. Wells books. He has an anthology of short stories, and my favorite one is called The Machine Stops. And boy, is it poignant. It'll make you right up that alley. They're cautionary tales. That's why science fiction, I think, is so brilliant. It's a cautionary tale, and we take the viewer and the audience into a place of potential jeopardy, and they have to you're either going to be entertained and go, that was nifty, I like the special effects, and maybe it'll sink into a deeper level. I like levels and layers.
Same here. I think that's the most important thing. Like, and really, any time you're telling a story, well, no matter what genre, I think that's probably the way to definitely get into the person's head, the viewer's head, the audience's head, and it's actually the most important key element of a story. I think that's what sticks with you. That's what makes you think about it weeks later. That's what makes you talk about it with your friends and dissect things. Like, those to me are the most important films.
I totally agree, because it's like I tell people, why is this character? Why are they responding in this way? Why are they choosing to do this or that? What is the challenge that, Dark Night of the Soul, the night before the battle? Why do you care? Why don't you just run away? Why do you step up to help your friend? All of these issues, they're supposed to challenge us. Otherwise, like a lot of horror movies, I think, are just a violent video game. And I find that can become dangerous. There's even, I remember, I forget what movie it was, it was talking about blip verts. subliminal messages that are woven into content that will make people respond when they're given the proper stimulus. You know, it's creepy. It's real. I got to work for a subsidiary of the RAND Corporation called Systems Development Corporation in Santa Monica when I was a junior in high school. We worked on Friday afternoons for about 2 hours. We did early strategy computer games, and we were in cubicles and we were competing against one another. But my friends that were even smarter than me, we figured out, because they would cut the field in half each week. We got $20 an hour in 1965. But when it got whittled down, there'd be a scenario, and there's 2 ways to go about, and if you win, then you're in the next tier. Well, we cheated. It wasn't really cheating, but we were more sinister than the others. And I remember one day they pulled us in the office, and they go, "We figured out what you are doing. You're making the same decisions, and it's legal, it's fine, it's cool. It's almost not within the rules, but we like your style. Would you like to work for the Defense Department?"
Wow! Oh man, that's awesome.
But back then, we come on, we were we were peace sticks. No war is bad. The war machine, bad. War forever, bad. War-based economy, bad. We need diplomacy and good people. We don't need the never-ending war. I mean, it's going right back to bad science fiction. So, and then they basically told us, well, at least we tried. Well, don't worry, we'll get somebody else to replace you. We told them to fuck off. What are you going to do? So, I mean, you got to stand for something. There's nothing worse than, nothing more frightening than a society that just, it's like if there's a fight going on, the people, the spectators sit and watch but don't step up. It's kind of like, I mean, Tom Laughlin, the Billy Jack movies, they're pretty bad movies, but they did have a message, So, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, but if you just stand idly by and don't get involved, then, when the tanks come rolling up the street, or like in The Matrix, you're a slave, Neo. I'm a what? Yeah.
I fear that society has almost become that way at this point, though. I mean, if you watch, like I watch television sometimes, and you'll see just that. You'll see like a fight break out or something like that, and people are more inclined these days to whip out their cell phone and record it than actually get involved and help the person. That to me is just disgusting, and it makes my stomach sick. Like, I mean, I don't know how we went from those days to these days. I don't understand where where everything came off of the rails. I mean, I don't know what you think about it. I mean, am I wrong? Do you notice that?
No, it's a very astute observation. It is true. In the short story, The Machine Stops, it talks about that. It really, really does. You can find it in the H.G. Wells anthologies, The Machine Stops. It's a must-read. No, you're absolutely correct. I think we're not tribal in the larger sense. Tribal meaning we're all humans. My father he was a surgeon, and he would say, "I've done a lot of autopsies. Do you think the inside the body, does the brain or internals of a black person or a brown person or an Asian, is it any different than that of a white person?" And I took a wild guess. I said, "No, Dad, of course not." He says, "That's right." So that which divides is dangerous.
I couldn't agree more, man. I wish I wish things were. I feel like things are more of a decline than a pickup. So I mean, I don't want to bum everybody out, but I mean, it is kind of that way. But I mean, not to change the subject. I always want to ask you. Your Harold is one of the most iconic horror villains in, I would like to say in history and film. I mean, does that kind of label bother you? Because I mean, you're known for so many other things, and you have so much knowledge in so many different things. I mean, is that the kind of label that bothers you, or I mean, how do you feel about that?
No, it doesn't bother me because I know that people that know about my work or have met me know that it's who I am is not the pigeonhole of being an icon of horror. Hey, great, but I do other stuff. I can wiggle my ears, Motley Crue. I mean, I can, so I don't live by a label. I run into friends that are iconic also. Like there was a little convention a couple weeks ago in Sacramento, and there was my friend Linda Blair. People love us when we scare them and when we make them laugh. But most people were there to give her articles for her work with animal dog rescues. So we're more than just that flash in the pan that gives us notoriety. And I'm glad that I was on the cover of The Hills Have Eyes because it helped my career, and I got more work. And a lot of casting directors or filmmakers, they want to go with well, they were great in this, so I want to do something similar, and it's a business plan. But when people understand you can do different things, it opens up more doors. So it doesn't bother me one bit.
I think it's great when people like yourself too use your fame for the greater good. That being said, what I mean is, I've read that you're a strong advocate for environmental protection. I think I love to see like you take that kind of fame and you use it for something that's even like just as incredible. I mean, I did actually read something though. I wanted to ask you if this is in fact true. I read a story that you lived on a wolf sanctuary for 10 years. Is that true? And if that is, how'd that come to be?
Well, when I lived in Big Bear for a long time, and then the place where I lived got sold. It was a family piece of property right on the lake. And then going down the north side of Big Bear, San Bernardino Mountain, there's a wolf sanctuary called Wolf Mountain Sanctuary. And I lived there for a couple of years, and then we'd travel away and come back and visit. I've known Tanya that runs it I've known her for over 30 years, and I did live there off and on for 10 years. So they're mostly a rescue for people that have wolves illegally. They're not pets. They should be left alone in the wild. And so if there's no place for them to live, if Fish and Game have taken them away, or animal control, or the police, because sometimes bad people like to fight dogs, like with the pit bulls, for instance. We actually met Tia Morales from Pit Bulls and Parolees, so she's a wonderful lady doing great work. And I also wanted to be a veterinarian, so animals. And when I was a Boy Scout and an Eagle Scout, and even had first aid to animals merit badge. I was a scuba diver for many, many years. I used to get a newsletter from the Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and it's called Sea Secrets. We live on a beautiful planet, and if we don't appreciate it, we'll be the ones that destroy it. Environmental issues are critically important. It's not a left-right issue. It's not a wacko tree hugging issue. No, it's our home. And if you don't respect your home, then you need a spanking. I mean, what the hell, really? And so there are so many other countries in the world that are so far ahead of the United States as far as keeping their water and their earth clean, as far as protecting their fishing areas, as far as making sure the quality of life of their people are sustainable. We're a young, kind of vibrant country, but unfortunately, our nation is riddled with a lot of serious problems. And I'm afraid I've talked to many scientists, and yes, it might be too late. And then we have people well, I call them creatures that are in power that want to push the button and start World War III. I have met them about 35 years ago. I can't mention the names because they're more powerful and they can hurt me. Bottom line is, some of them want Armageddon. And, come on, I could read Latin when I was 10 years old. The point is, there are dangerous people that think there should be the 1,000-year reign of the carpenter, coming back. I'm sorry, that's crazy talk. Seriously. I'm not a big fan of religion, organized religion. Precepts of some are righteous, but I see a lot of big ivory towers, a lot of gold, a lot of wealth, a lot of tax shelters, and a lot of pain and suffering. Catholic Church comes to mind. Enough said there. Well, if you don't like what I say, then forgive me. I'm telling it as it is. So, and then there's a wonderful Bob Dylan song. It's very, very harsh. It's called The Masters of War. I know Bob Dylan very well. Anyway, bottom line is, it's very evil to sell weapons of war to every side of a conflict. It's very evil to suppress people. It's very evil to harm people that are unarmed. It's very evil to not take care of those that are less off. For instance, I think it's something called the Corporal Works of Mercy. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, visit the infirm. If people don't understand what these concepts mean, then I would recommend that you get your car and you drive to a sanitarium or an old folks home and visit the people that live there. And maybe talk to them, read a book to them, let them share their life stories with you, and they're at the end of their days. They just might have something of value to share with you. But see, we don't do that. In our society, in America, we kind of, it's all about being young and powerful and driving a BMW or having a lot of money. There used to be bumper stickers on BMWs in particular that said, yes, I do own the road. That kind of arrogant, selfish attitude is very prevalent.
That's usually how I know somebody's an asshole, if I read something like that.
Well, absolutely.
I can't agree with you more, man. I really hate for this interview to kind of sound as dour as it is, but unfortunately the times they are in fact that way. I mean, I am a guy, I've always grown up to, I've been taught to, respect people, no matter, what origin or what color or creed, and, respect women, and just to be an all-around, care for your fellow man, and, I don't know where everything switched, everything is so self-motivated and self-centered and self-driven that, it's just that, everything's just so that way that, and everything is so monetarily driven and possession driven. It's, it's very disheartening and hollow. That's, to me, not the kind of life I would like to live, nor do I consider that living. So, it surely is that way.
I know, and a cartoon hit it right on the mark when Homer Simpson asked Montgomery Burns, does your money hug you and tuck you in at night and say it loves you? No, but I don't care. So there are those types of creatures. I don't call them people.
They're surely not people.
They're empty vessels, and they're going to play the game until the game is over. But then, if you ever meet one and they just don't have the ability to be civil, and yet they have their nose in the air, you can always throw this at them because it'll always get them. Hey, now, when I was volunteering at the Bogey Creek Gang and some of the charity places for medical services for children in need, there's a little saying at the Paul Newman camp, and it said, at the end of my life, it won't matter how much money I made, what kind of car I drove, or how big my house was. What will matter is if I made a difference in the lives and future of children. So you tell one of these stuffed shirts that, have an Armani, a pair of underwear, and you say, hey, you might think everything is hunky-dory and everything is great, but colostomy bag or that Foley catheter or your diaper, and your children don't come and visit you, and you're in that high-end nursing home, you might want to be nice to the person that tends to you. You might have a regret, but you live high on the hog until the very last moment. Yeah, really? That's kind of small thinking. Oh, by the way, have a nice day.
I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, I know people that work in a nursing home, and I mean, there's you would be surprised. There even those types that still. It's always funny to me because like you can't take anything with you. And like you said, you're there, you're alone. Like your money isn't comforting you. I mean, you're there and you're just like everybody else. So I mean, I think I hate to sound like a dick, but I kind of like to see when people get humbled like that. Like, but I don't even know if those types even get it though. I think there's just a disconnect in their brain that they don't even understand at that point. But I mean, I try not to let them. I try not to let those types get me down, man. I just kind of be me, and
I agree. I agree. I try to seek out something joyful. It could be as simple as two squirrels chasing each other across the street. So, that being said, it's like on my Facebook page. I post stuff that makes you think, makes you feel. But a lot of stuff is funny. I got one. It's a video of a dog holding what looks like a ping pong paddle, and on it is those little cameras, a go job or whatever it's called. And so the dog is running happily, running away from its master while it's running around the yard. You can't have this. I've got it. I mean, so there is joy in the world, and some Eastern religions and other philosophies think that if you don't get it right, then you have to go around and maybe do a redo. But even that being said, those that control and subvert other people and destroy the earth, for instance, or they can make it unlivable or painful, they don't have a right to do that, even though they might get recycled. And we can't keep turning the other cheek forever. We just have to kind of put a block on them so they can't continue to do harm, because we only get so many makeovers. And so when I used to talk to school districts in the 5th and 6th graders or kids that come with their parents to my table to sign at a convention, I always look at the kids and I go, your parents are all excited that they're meeting me and these other people sitting around here. You might not know who we are. We're not really a big deal. And sometimes I give them a little 3x5 card. I say, could you sign me your autograph? And they go, what? I said, because, I want your autograph, because your generation is smarter than the one before. In some ways, eventually, you'll be more wise than your parents. Do respect them and take care of them when, they get old, but your generation is going to fix a lot of the problems that the grown-ups have messed up. And I swear, they'll look at you and they'll go, I actually had an old girl about maybe 10 years old pat the back of my hand after I spoke to her in that manner, and she goes, it's okay, old man. We'll fix it.
Oh.
It friggin' floored me.
Oh, that's the most endearing thing I've ever heard.
But you empower them, because I know how scary it was having, sirens go off, and we had to practice, like in the wonderful Joe Dante film, Matinee. We were taught the lie that hiding under a desk and ducking in cover would protect us from a nuclear bomb, which is total bullshit. So
it taught me growing up too. I remember back when you'd see the TV movies like The Day After and stuff like that. We used to have those drills in school, and I was terrified, man. I mean, you're that age, you don't know what to expect.
Tell me about it.
Surely, but I mean, I was losing my shit, and then then you're at that age where you ask people, and they just tell you what you want to hear. They don't level with you, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, fine. You hide on your desk, you'll be good." So I mean, it's like, I knew better. I mean,
exactly.
But not.
And that's where a lot of youth. That's where we stopped trusting the grown-ups. They wouldn't have caught to the facts, man.
But you talked about young kids. I mean, I was going to ask you, I mean, do you consider yourself a role model? Because, I mean, after hearing the stories you're telling me, I do think you're a really good one.
Well, I don't consider myself that. I just try to reflect on what I think is an important message, and I can somewhat agree with that, yeah, but I just want to try to be a better person tomorrow than I was today. Trust me, we're all a work in progress, and we're not born with every tool in the toolbox that we need. Sometimes we're always missing a wrench or something, but overall, something my grandmother used to say, if you don't have something nice to say, shut up.
Yeah, that's what mine used to say, and I still live by those words. My grandpap always used to tell me too, and I swear it's funny. It's funny when you listen to them, man. And at the time, it doesn't sound like much, but I've gathered so many things. They've shaped my life in so many ways. Now that they're not here, it's like I use things all the time, and I'm like, oh my god, it makes total sense now, because my grandpap would always tell me, and it was funny. He'd be like, oh, big dog. He called me big dog, and he'd be like, the squeakiest wheel always gets the oil, meaning, like, if you never give up and you put your mind to something, eventually things are going to happen. And at the time, I'm like, bullshit, you're a cocky young little kid, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, so, and I'd be like, yeah, whatever, Graham. And it's funny, as I grew up to be a man, I'm like, man, that's never been a truer statement for me, like, it's something I've used my whole life, and even now, and it just works for me all the time. And it's funny because I've heard myself explaining it the same way when people's like, "Wow, how did you do that?" or "How did that happen?" I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Squeakiest wheel gets the oil." I just keep trying, and then eventually it happens. So it's funny, man, because it brings a smile to my face every time that kind of thing happens.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. I want to. If you have any more questions, let's do that. Otherwise, I want to leave you with a wonderful little quote I got from a med student one time called, if you want a happy life, this is not because you're a blithering idiot, but the bottom line is some of the best advice to not have a lot of wrinkles is to be lazy. And because it takes 27 muscles to frown, and it only takes 3 to smile.
Oh, man, that's profound, man. I feel that way, because everyone's like, why are you all so happy and goofy all the time, And I'm like, well, it's a lot easier to me to be that way.
You could always tell them that the meds kicked in.
Well, I know in me they probably think that's the case. But that's very profound, man. No, I think that's probably
funny.
They usually just give me the straight jacket and hook me in, and I'm good to go. So, but no, you know what, man? I actually would like to think I would like to end on that, because I would honestly love if you would do me the honor whenever you're done with your book to come back and we could plug and talk about that, and then we could continue this, man.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll be hitting everybody up, trust me.
Well, I would be honored.
Unless if I get a good contract, that would be a delight. But I just had to, get it down on paper. And matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do right now. Is crack a nice cold Sierra Nevada and pound out a few more pages.
Well, there you have it, folks. There you have something to look forward to. I will keep you cats in the know. Michael Berryman's book coming out in the near future. Again, I want to thank you. Like I said, man, you're such an incredible and inspirational person in my life. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I love you, man. Thank you for doing this. And like I said, come on back when, keep me posted when the book comes out. And I just want to thank you again, sir. Have a very good day, and peace and love.
Peace and love, brother. And then to all the listeners, have a good one.
Thank you, man.
Okay. God bless.
God bless. Goodbye. Hey, we're back again this week, cats, with more Depravity. I know you haven't gotten your ample dose of depravity lately, so we're trying to really give you what you want. And you know her, you love her, you are waiting for it. XTina, don't deprive these people what they want anymore. Give them this depravity this week, and, tell them all the fucked up shit going on in this wonderful world of ours.
Oh boy, so I've been itching for this one, and by the time y'all hear this, there'll be 200 changes, because every day it seems to change, but I am completely enamored and involved in this Watts case, the family out of Colorado, where the dude killed his wife and kids. Okay, wait, let me go back. Allegedly killed his wife and kids. That's how the media is supposed to say that, correct? We are apparently the media these days. So, he allegedly killed his wife and kids. Now, if he allegedly did this, how did he know where their bodies were? Very interesting. So, here's the scoop, folks, as if you haven't heard about this enough already, but I'm going to give you the XTina style of it. So we have a family that is apparently, or seemingly, I should say, fairly well off. Very good looking, husband, wife, youngish, in their early 30s. He works for an oil and gas company, makes decent money. She, I guess, works, she does that multi-level sales BS that I can't stand, but apparently she's doing real good at it, so hey, whatever, it's Thrive, like a diet type thing, and you wear stickers and you sell shakes and you do this and that. But she was like so good at it that she got like a Lexus and she got all these vacations, and I don't understand how all that works. It's some sort of like pyramid scheme kind of thing, I think, but I don't know, man. And like, if you go on her Facebook, which 100,000 Americans have, Balls thinks I'm insane, but everybody does it. So like, I'm not the only crazy person out there. I know, because you don't care that much, but she's, every other post is about this Thrive stuff, and it's super annoying. If I was her friend, I'd probably blocked her, but she seems like super sweet. So, but that's what you have to do. You have to be that annoying to get that stuff sold, and I'm not that person, so that's why I never, could get involved in all that stuff. But hey, whatever, man. If you can do it, more power to you. That's why she was driving a Lexus, and I'm not. So there you go. So, at any rate, this girl, though, man, she's pretty amazing. Turns out, when these things happen, you learn all this stuff. So, I'll give you the backstory if you haven't heard already. So they go missing. A woman and her two young daughters, like 4 and 2, not even 2, I don't think. They go missing. So the husband's on TV pleading for their return, and he's sort of like very sort of cold, and just not real emotional. Now, I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, because when you're in that situation, and God forbid any of us have to be, I just only can imagine that you're like super like numb, and so you really don't have any feeling at that moment because you're just like in shock. So, when people are on the news and they're pleading for their family, I'm not going to automatically assume that they did something to them, because, if they're not bawling their eyes out or whatever, just, number one, he's trying to stay calm, maybe to find the family, and, but, there was definitely something a little shifty, I found, with his eyes and whatnot, and I'm like, I don't know if I believe this guy, but hey, whatever, I'm no expert. And then wouldn't you know, the very day or two later, I think it was 2 days later, he confesses to their murders. Well, how about that? So, at least he got the confession out, but what I would love to know is how did they get this confession? Did they break him down in an interrogation room? Were they interrogating him for hours upon hours, and then he just broke down and told them? Or what? I can't wait for that to come out. Now, the motive, these people, and of course everybody says, fake book, everything you see on the internet and blah, 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 I know it can't always be true, but, she was a big fan of taking videos, and, they're always just with the kids and having fun, and but I feel like if you have to video your life that much and put it on social media, you're clearly hiding what's truly happening behind the scenes. So it also makes you wonder, because there's no prior, he has no prior charges, everybody assumed they were happy. Who knows what was going on behind closed doors. And he could have been abusing them all, and that could have been just a cover, and her also, just showing, oh, well, nobody can know about this, so I'm gonna, go on and show my happy face. But the more you hear about it, the more wacky it gets. And so, if anybody knows anything about narcissistic personality disorder or sociopaths or whatever, they prey on the weak. And clearly this girl isn't very weak. She's very outgoing, very bubbly, very, like a go-getter with this business and all this, but she wasn't always that way. A mutual friend, I guess, knew him and then told him to send her a friend request on Facebook. She saw it, didn't know him, deleted it immediately because at the time she was diagnosed with lupus. So she was going through all this stuff, and then on top of lupus, she also got a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. So now here's this girl that's like in her late 20s getting all these horrible diagnoses. And if you know anything about these diseases, I mean, you're in severe pain all the time. You are weak. You are tired beyond belief. So, I mean, this girl had no interest in dating whatsoever. That just wasn't even in the cards for her. So she just naturally deleted this. And then I guess, I don't know, like maybe a month or so later, he tried again. And somebody said, hey, you should really give that guy a chance. He's a really good guy, blah, blah, blah. So she was like, all right, what the heck, So she friended him. They started talking a lot, and they, seemed to really like each other. Now she is going for like her first treatments for these, her new drugs of whatever's going to help heal her, essentially, or at least, mask the pain that she's in and all this. So guess who plays the good guy and goes to the doctor with her in her first few appointments? Because this is what happens, people. When you are down and out, a predator is always lurking to find you at your weakest and, to be there for you so that they look like a genuinely good person. So, and the sucky thing is it really, really hurts the people who really are doing this to be a good person, and they're still out there. They really are. But 90% of the time, it sure seems like this is more the case. So he clearly used that as a form of manipulation to get her to fall for him. She clearly did. They courted for, I don't know, a while, a couple years. Courted. Balls is looking at me. I know, honey, it's 1950. Courted. I know. Okay, they dated. I don't know, man. I'm stepped into the 50s for a second there, guys. I'm back. Yeah, they read Reader's Digest. Yeah. They went and did the what's that dance my mom likes? The boogaroo, the Charleston. That's not it though. That wasn't her dance. Anyway, they didn't do the Charleston. So they're doing all right, but so they have, I don't know, they get married, they have a nice house, blah blah blah. Who knows? They start having babies. They move to Colorado. He finds a decent job in the oil field, but what has come out since the murders is that they had severe debt and filed for bankruptcy. Something to the tune of like $400,000 debt. Like, I wish I could just, blow $400,000. And, I had a lot of debt back in the day, nothing near that. And I joined a credit protection place and paid that stuff off and killed myself for 5 years. And I should have just filed bankruptcy because seems like all those people that do that end up on the top of the world. So, I hate to say it, but apparently that's a good thing, people. Unfortunately. I think it ruins your life for a couple of years, and then it makes you on top of the world. So, whatever. I digress. So, this family had an amazing house, like $500,000 home in Colorado. She's making bank with this Thrive company, selling these vitamins and patches and all this crap to help you lose weight, which, from what I heard, it really works, but I ain't ballin', so I can't afford it. It's very expensive. Hence the fact that she was making a ton of money selling this stuff, but anyway, so because of the stuff, they send you to all these like meetings, like I want to call them like cheerleading sessions, where you go and like meet all the people who sell the same stuff, and you sit around in a conference room and they give you caviar and roses and feed you all kind of bullshit about how awesome their product is, and you're gonna sell the shit out of it and make all this money and yada yada yada. So she was drinking the juice. She was drinking sucking the juice beyond belief. But hey, it was working to her benefit. I mean, she was doing it right, because she was definitely gaining. I mean, they went on like all these trips in like the last year. She went to like 3 different countries on vacation because of this company taking them there. So hey, more power to you. But so they have these cute little kids, 2 little girls, and they just seem to be so darling, and like you see they seem to love their dad to pieces, and there's videos out there of him just doting on them, and it's just mind-boggling that she was on a trip in Arizona, a Sunday night, whatever. Her flight got delayed. She didn't get home till like 1:30 in the morning. Apparently she never got to sleep, because I was thinking, how did all this happen in this time frame? Because she went missing. Her friend went to get her or something at 8 in the morning, because I guess they were going to work the next day, or doing something the next morning. And she wasn't answering her texts, and she wasn't in her house, and so her friend got freaked out. And apparently the husband, who said they were missing, saw them at 5 in the morning when he left for work. So if she got home at 1:30 in the morning, and he saw her sleeping at 5 in the morning when he left for work, how much time did you really have to commit like 3 murders? I mean, it's pretty impressive, and clearly premeditated. And then the other question is, so nobody knows yet, what happened. Like, did he kill these little girls first, and then she came home, and like he killed her? Now, he said they had like a heated discussion, and so the rumor mill began that he was having an affair, or that maybe she was having an affair, and that somebody wanted a divorce, and they were like they were having like a heated discussion this particular like wee hours of the morning. And so nobody really knows, but from what I heard, he strangled them all, and that's apparently how they died. But we don't really know like the complete truth yet. But so let's just say he strangles his whole family, and in what order it happened, I have no idea. But he somehow then gets them all in his pickup truck and takes them 25 miles away to his work site, which is an oil and gas field. And he buries his wife, which I forgot she's pregnant, by the way. Pregnant 15 weeks with their first son. I mean, imagine, you have 2 cute little girls, and you probably are like, oh, I want a son, at some point maybe, and because they seem like they loved having kids, apparently. So I'm sure they were like over the moon, like thrilled that they're having this baby boy. And well, he's gone too, because that's what happens when you kill people that are pregnant. So yeah, he killed his daughters and his unborn son, along with the wife, buries her in a shallow grave on the field of this oil field where he works. What does he do with these baby daughters that are seriously like 4 and 2, and like just the spitting image of him, unfortunately for them? What does he do with them? I mean, you look at your baby, you look at your kids, you love them. Like, he doted on them. He played with them. It's not like he was an uninvolved father. He was with them every day, told them he loved them. They loved him. There's a video of the older daughter talking about how much she loves her daddy and how he's her hero. And, oh my God, it just makes you sick. He throws them in a giant tank. He had to climb up a ladder into a giant tank of crude oil. Your dead baby daughters into a tank of crude oil. Now, tell me that's not fucked up. And if that's not fucked up enough, he now is turning the tides while he's in jail, trying to come up with some crazy defense, because he's grasping at straws as to how to probably get out of like the death penalty, which I think they say Colorado does not have, which I'm fine with, because honestly I'd rather this guy just live and be miserable and have all the freaking prisoners torture him for the rest of his life. I'd be cool with that, and have to obviously think about what he did, which he clearly may not care about. Who knows, like what, maybe he'll have flashbacks or something, and it'd be great. But he had the audacity, the absolute audacity, to tell lawyers, tell whoever, that she killed the kids, and that is why he killed her in turn. He claims that he saw on the baby monitor, this is how ridiculous this is. Now, has anybody seen a baby monitor in the video that you see? It's pretty, like, blurry and, like, kind of bluish, has, like, a bluish tint to it, maybe, like, a grayish tint to it. It is clearly not in color. Now, maybe technology has gone beyond, but I don't know. But he claims that he saw her strangle them in their bedroom through the baby monitor because one of the babies was blue. Now, I don't think that you can tell that a baby is blue through a baby monitor. And if they are blue, it's because the filter on the screen is blue, you jackass. Oh my god, this guy. Like, I can't even. Oh my god, I just want to kill him. Everybody wants to kill him, pretty much. Oh, but wait. There's more. So now...
Are you serious?
Oh god, it just gets more and more bizarre every day. That's why I said this is going to be a long one. And I was going to do something with Jeff with this, but he just kind of dropped the ball. But trust me, I'll talk about this for years, for days on end. It'll never end. It gets better and better every day. It's unfreaking believable. So now, the rumors are that he killed them because he was having an affair with somebody at work. And I guess wanted to be with her. And so therefore, the best way to be with her is to get rid of your entire family, I guess. So, yeah, sure, why not? Whatever. Yeah, let's do that. Well, so everybody's like on pins and needles waiting to hear who this chick is and who's he sleeping with at work and what. Did she know this was going to happen and now she's scared of him and blah, 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 blah. Nobody knows what's going on. In the midst of all this, a young gay man comes along and, hello, admits that he and Chris Watts, the dad killer dude, have been having a 10-month affair. And they did a spot, they actually interviewed him. Ashley Banfield got him, and she made a very, very blatant point to say, we heard about this, we tracked this guy down, we found this guy, he did not contact us. So, I mean, because everybody obviously is going to jump on he just wants to be famous, so he's jumping in and making up some crazy story. Now, I listened to this guy's interview on Ashley Banfield. He does not sound like he's making up a story. He sounds like a dude who, is also got duped, and he knew that he had kids. He actually met his kids before, but he never knew that he had a wife. That was never established. He knew that he met him on a dating website, and he said the dating website said that he was straight. And he goes, dude, why are you contacting me? I'm a gay man. He goes, I know. He goes, but I'm not ready to be out yet. I just need to, right, I guess he needed cock. So, anyway, he wanted to be with this dude, and so they met up. And Ashley Banfield asks him, well, how soon after you, met Mr. Watts did this become romantic? That night. So they got together and got it on that night, man. So, and I mean, the dude sounds genuine. I mean, he sounds like he's very shaken up, because obviously who wouldn't be? If you find out that your gay lover is, I mean, they broke it off, maybe 6 months ago, but still, because he said he started to see he was lying about this, lying about that, and when the daughters were with him at one point, the little girl said, Daddy, can we sleep in bed with you and Mommy tonight? And I seen a video on her Facebook of the daughter saying, Mommy, I want to sleep in your bed. No, you have to start sleeping in your bed. So I find this highly believable. It's so believable. And so that was the first time that this gay dude, lover guy, found out that he had a wife still in the picture. He had no idea. So, of course, they talked about it. Chris did admit it. And he, said, but I can't, I can't get a divorce. I can't break off my family, the whole thing. And I'm sure there's truth to that a lot of people go through this. But just come out, for Christ's sake. Don't freaking lie and hide and, destroy everybody else's life just because you're afraid, I mean, I know it's hard. Believe me, I get it. I can only I guess, empathize, not sympathize, or whatever that is. But, but Jesus, this is 2018. Just come the fuck out already, okay, people? There's my PSA for you. So in addition to that, this dude sounded like genuinely true. I mean, he said things. He has he has all the old text messages between the two of them. He knew certain things that he probably wouldn't have known if he was making this up or anything like that. So I truly don't believe that this guy is making this up. I really think so. But he did say that he started to at some point see, beyond all the lies, like he did start to get really kind of flippy on him, to where he was like turning things around on him and just getting real shitty and like typical narcissistic sociopathic behavior. And so the gay dude was like, man, I think you just need to go figure out your life, and let's just call this whole thing off. And they sort of went their own separate ways. And I mean, he was just blown away when the news story broke that this happened, because even though he felt that he was a liar and a cheat and a whatever, he still felt that he was like a sweet, genuine, like loving guy that would never ever hurt a fly, let alone kill his family. So yeah, he's truly just as baffled as the rest of the or the rest of the world is. And so this will be interesting, I mean, to see how this plays out. And also, if there is actually a lover from work, and if it's a male or female, I mean, nobody knows. And another thing that was really fucked up that he did was, when he was claiming she was missing and all this, and he was so distraught or whatever and upset that his wife and kids were missing, the neighbors that they were friends with let him stay in their house. And were totally there for him and totally like supportive, and he slept in a room across from their daughter and never thought anything of it, and then this comes out, and God, these poor people were just like totally mind blown. But here the cool thing is, though, is the neighbors got the dog. I feel so bad for this little stinking wiener dog who lost his entire family. Like, he has no clue. Like, the dad's in jail, the kids are dead, and the mom's dead, and now there's a wiener dog that's all without his freaking family, man. Nobody thinks of the dogs. Nobody thinks what they do to their dogs, okay? They're gone now, but little Dieter is his name. He's so cute. If he goes to the neighbors, and he's living with them now, and they have a couple dogs, and I guess he used to play with one of their dogs, so he already knows him. So at least he has some buddies and some friends. But man, that's heartbreaking. Like, I don't know. The whole thing's just so disturbing and just so bizarre. And man, I'll talk about this more because it's just going to get more and more bizarre as time goes on. And then here's another thing. So I joined this Facebook group because, as you can tell, I'm a little obsessed. And so there's a Facebook group about it. And everybody, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups of different things that I like. And for the most part, people are totally cool. And but this particular group, I don't understand it. These bitches in this group are evil. They're pure evil. I mean, they're constantly, like, bashing each other, and they're bashing her, the victim, and they're, like, hailing him. Some of them are hailing him as a hero. One girl went on to say, y'all are probably the type that go and, get yourself a murdering guy in jail and want to marry him. It almost seems as though they are. Like, they're saying, oh, he's too hot to have murdered anybody. What? Are you serious? You gotta be kidding me. Like, oh my God, just people. I have no idea. And I guess, like, they played the funeral today. And so, yeah, by the time you're listening to this, it'll be probably a week later. But they played the funeral, and people, I guess, were just making disparaging comments all over the funeral site that was broadcasting it. And I mean, you got to realize she's from North Carolina, so they got all the bodies got flown back to North Carolina. So there's people in Colorado, there's people all around the country that obviously want to see this. So it was the family's decision to video it. And I mean, you don't see anything. It's a church service and it's closed caskets and everything. But they do this beautiful church service, and people are bitching. People are bitching about a murdered girl and her dead babies, and they're bitching about the church service online. I don't know. This world, I can't even deal. So I'm sure I'll have way more to come. By the time you hear this, I'll have another update, because I'm sure things are about to get bonkers. And another thing that's funny too, and I kind of respect the media for this, is you don't see a word about his family. Like, you've seen her dad, her brother, they're all out talking. Her mother hasn't been, which is kind of good, but you don't see nothing about his family, and the media is seemingly not bothering them, which is great, because I can't imagine what they're going through too. They're also victims in this too. Think about that. Imagine your son snaps and kills his family, and you I mean, oh god, the whole thing. I can't. Okay, balls, take over. I'm done.
What? I don't even know what's left to say after all that. I mean, wow. I've never seen you fired up on a case like this before. This is, to date, the most passionate I've seen you in one of these things. I mean, but I mean, I mean, like I say, I see these every week. It's very repetitive at this point. I mean, I just, it's so funny to me that, like, in this day and age, that, like, people would rather, murder their wife and kids than to, like, just be themselves. Like, it's so stupid to me. Like, the one repetitive thing that I do notice and I pick up from all these that you share with us every week, and I mean, let this be a cautionary tale, like most of these. I mean, in this day and age, nobody's going to give a shit if you're gay. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's still prejudiced faced out there, but I mean, this is 2018. I mean, I would like to think that we are that far along as a society where nobody gives a shit. Like, I don't have a problem with anybody. Like, if you're cool with me, that's fine. I don't give a shit what you like in your ass, or what you like in your mouth or your pussy. I could give two shits. Like, if you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. I don't give a fuck what color you are, how many dicks you sucked. I could care less. I mean, these people are so... I don't understand how, like, this repression happens, or, that's, or it's so embarrassing to people. I mean, it's got to be environmentally how you're raised, and it's probably some pseudo-religious guilt, or... people where you're made to feel that they're not, they're doing wrong, and they're just being themselves. I mean, on some level, I can't sympathize with these wackos, because I get, I get it on some level, but still, it's never a carte blanche or a free pass to kill your kids, your wife, your significant other. Just fucking break up with these people. Or just just be yourself. Go suck a cock and don't kill your wife and kids. Like, it's all this shit's such a no-brainer to me. Like, and people take it to these drastic, horrible fucking levels when in action, and they ruin their lives and the people's lives and their wife and kids' lives, and their wiener dogs' lives. God damn it, jeez. I mean, and really, the answer's simple. There's always a simple solution. You just gotta have some courage or some nuts and fucking break up with these people. We're telling me, hey, I like cock now. Like, I don't want to fucking be with you. I mean, yeah, it's always hard, but I'm sure it's a lot easier than A, going to jail the rest of your life, or B, getting the death penalty, or all this stuff. I mean, it's gotta be easier than, than the alternative. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, see, now you got me fired up, man. Goddamn wiener dog. He has to go live with his fucking neighbors. He's in a better place now, that wiener dog. So, if anything good came out of this XTina, at least the wiener dog is probably in a better place. So, that being said, is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
I got nothing, man. I can't anymore. I'm spent.
Well, you heard it, folks. That's it for Depravity Corner this week. And that's probably going to be it for the Balls from Ellwood show this week. Peace and love. Peace and love.